And the same time when we're checking out what Cardi B is up to, we could be checking out how to improve our financial well-being. Both are available, and you can learn from the best. You know, Cardi B's the best at being Cardi B. You can learn from some of the very best people in the world on how to improve your financial well-being. Welcome to the Model Health Show. This is fitness and nutrition expert Shawn Stevenson, and I'm so grateful for you tuning in with me today. What a wild time we're in. It's back to school time here in the U.S. Well, sort of. Some kids are going back to the classroom. Some are doing remote learning. Some are doing like a hybrid model. But it's just a very different time and a different time for all of us to try to navigate. You know, a lot of kids right now, colleges aren't even opening and allowing kids back on campus, and they're doing remote learning. So it's a whole different world that we're living in right now. And I'm just thinking about people in the future listening to this episode and just reminiscing on these times and where we're going to go from here. And what we do right now, the decisions we make truly do determine what it's going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. So we're in the process of writing history, which is very empowering. But at the same time, there are things that we got to figure out and navigate. And today I really want to talk about that and talk about educational wellness, family wellness right now, and also financial wellness, because this is a massive strain that's just gotten accentuated more than ever during this process. And to provide some really tangible, viable options and opportunities and insights and tips just to take away and take action on starting today. And even for me in my own household, we are experiencing this management of something very different. My youngest son, Braden, is going into the third grade. And they got me reminiscing today about my third grade experience. It was also very different. I was going from living with my grandmother until the end of second grade and going to the, quote, good school in the county, to moving in with my mother for third grade in the inner city. It's probably one of the most, the school that I went to, Hamilton, which is boarded up, gone right now, but it was probably the lowest ranked school that was in St. Louis at the time. But it's still an incredible learning experience for me. And I still remember my third grade teacher, Mr. Ewing. Shout out to Mr. Ewing. Hope you're doing all right. What an interesting character this guy was. Mr. Ewing and Mr. Dillon, the art teacher, would literally put on, what a great feeling when they wheel in the video cassette player and the TV into your classroom. Come on. That's like Christmas when the teacher would wheel in the TV into your classroom. But Mr. Dillon and Mr. Ewing, low-key, would bring in the TV, and they straight up put on 48 hours for us to watch. Not 48 hours of time, but the movie. I believe it's an R-rated film starring Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Why he would do this, I do not know, except for the fact that Mr. Ewing and Mr. Dillon were getting a little high. They were doing a little toky while the kids are watching Eddie Murphy. All right, this is a true story. This happened. All right, shout out to Hamilton Elementary School. All right, but I went from packing a lunch with my grandmother and my superhero. I had a Transformer lunchbox. Do you remember the metal lunchbox? I'm pretty sure they've been banned and outlawed now because it definitely could be used as a weapon. But it would have a thermos in there as well. That sweet, sweet nectar of fruit punch. That was my jam. To going from that to being on the school lunch program, the free lunch program, where you got a little red ticket. And if you lose that ticket, you're not eating. All right. It's a very different situation to navigate. But, it's just so many different adventures through it all. And again, it just depends upon your perspective. We can fight what is, or we can embrace the opportunities within them and start to see outside of our circumstances. And so that's what we're seeing right now with figuring out things with our youngest son and also our oldest son. The college campus is not opening back up, so he's doing remote learning like so many college students across the country are doing right now. So again, this is navigating something very new to all of us, but there is great opportunity within that. And that's what we're really going to be diving into today. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this episode. And by the way, speaking of that sweet, sweet nectar that was in my thermos, my grandma knew what I liked. She knew I liked the fruit punch. All right. Hawaiian punch. It was called, how dare they? Hawaiian punch. But there was 0% juice in the juice. If you actually read it, 0% juice in the juice and just a massive amount of, we're not even going to call it sugar. We're going to call it kitty cocaina. All right. It's that kitty cocaina in there, man. And today, of course, we know that these are things that we can dramatically upgrade for our children. And to take some of those same activities that we grew up with as a common part of culture, because I'm sure many somebodies are out there sipping on some Hawaiian punch right now. They came out with news. When I was into it, it was just red. They just had the red Hawaiian punch. They end up having like a blue one. They got a green one. There's all kinds of punches. All right. But they're really just punches to your pancreas. They're really punches to the functioning of your brain. And even now, one of the great gifts that we have, my son and our neighbor next door, his best friend, Avery, they're the same age. They're literally 2 days apart. What kind of madness is that? So when we moved in, there's a child, his best friend now, 2 days different. So they're going in the same grade, but we've invoked so many of the different approaches to things because, Avery, like other kids, he's about that juice life. Let me hit that juice box. Now Avery will come over here to our house if they run out, and he'll go and grab him a red juice go pack, and he'll open it up, pour it into his cup, and he'll sip on that. It's amazing because we're taking a behavior that people are already doing and radically upgrading. So what's up with this red juice? Listen to this. The Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry found that acai, which is one of the highlighted ingredients in the red juice, actually raised participants' antioxidant levels in their body. It wasn't just there's antioxidants in this substance. That's the end of the story, because is your body actually absorbing it? And acai is one of the few things that have been clinically proven to show up as, okay, this is a dense source of antioxidants, and it actually is absorbed and utilized by the human body. There's a real resonance there. That's how powerful it is. Acai is one thing. They've got the concentration of beet in there as well. Beets are one of the most powerful substances that's ever been discovered for improving cardiovascular performance and endurance. There are tons of supplements out there right now that are utilizing beets because of their impact on the cardiovascular system. Another one of the things in the red juice blend, and this is highlighted from research from University of Michigan, and they published data finding that blueberry, all right, they've got a concentration of blueberry in there as well. Blueberry intake can potentially affect genes that control fat burning. So not just this thing burns fat, but actually controlling the genes that do this process. So truly remarkable. We're radically upgrading the punch model, the fruit punch model, with the Organifi red juice. And it's something that I feel confident giving I'm sipping on it. Matter of fact, I have it right here. Sipping on it right now. Red juice is one of my favorite things for like getting families and kids on board and getting really dense sources of nutrition into their body. And it tastes good. That's a big key as well. So definitely check it out. It's Organifi.com/model. That's Organifi.com/model. You get 20% off their red juice formula, their green juice, which tastes amazing as well, and their gold. They've got some other incredible products. Just really great company, doing things the right way. And these are low temperature processed, whole food concentrations, no sugar added, incredible sources of nutrition that everybody should have in their cabinet. So pop over there, check them out, Organifi.com/model. And now let's get to the Apple Podcast Review of the Week.
Another 5-star review titled, Shawn is the OG by DBA40. I've been a long-time listener, nearly 2 years now, and I'll start by apologizing that it has taken me this long to write a review. Content-wise, this is one of the best, if not the best podcast in the space. But what sets the show apart is the data-driven, open-minded, accessible approach that Shawn takes with all subjects. I'm naturally a skeptic, so I don't say this lightly. You have made a difference in my life. Thank you.
That's speaking right to my heart. Thank you so much for taking the time to share that. And thank you for making me a part of your life. And listen, if you've yet to do so, please pop over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review for the show. It means so very much. And now let's get to our topic of the day. Today, we're going to be talking about family and financial wellness during challenging times, because it is a challenging time to say the least. And for many families, not just here in our country, but all over the world, they're experiencing a lot of chaos, a lot of change, a lot of things are in flux, and they're trying to figure things out. And I'm so grateful because on a recent episode we had on Dr. Daniel Amen, who is arguably the #1 mental health expert in the entire world. He has the largest database of SPECT imaging scans, actually looking at the brain. And he's the first person to bring to my awareness that in the field of psychology, which he's double board certified, and specifically looking at child psychiatry as well, and having so many years in that space, he mentioned and said to me and just opened up this huge door in my mind that the field of psychiatry is largely the only medical profession that prescribes medicine and treats an organ that they never even look at. And what he said was that if you take away the ability to actually do brain imaging, the field of psychiatry is still treating patients the same way they did in the 1800s. You know, it's based on a conversation, when in reality, it's not necessarily a mental health issue. These are brain health issues, and it's helping to get our citizens to have conditions, nutrition that supports healthy brain function. And there's so much that can be done to healing our brains. He's also done the largest database of NFL players and doing brain imaging. And he's really helped to bring CTE to the forefront and understanding that condition, and also understanding how much improvement can be made if we can actually look at the brain and see what the issues are. But having him on recently and talking about how can we help to kind of navigate the conditions, and he said something to me that was so profound, because what I've been seeing and what I've been hearing in the feedback is that for many families, it's been an incredible strain. It's been an incredible stressor. It was cool maybe the first week or two because it was like indoor camping, but stretching this out for about 6 months now and not having any end in sight, and being able to try to navigate conditions that we've never experienced before has been an incredibly stressful time. But Dr. Daniel Amen said something so profound that it just stuck with me, and it was the inception of today's episode. He said that, quote, "This is actually a historic time to put back the American family. The American family has been under assault for the last 3 generations. And the bonds between moms and dads and children have been strained by the fast pace of our society. And what this time has brought forth is an opportunity, should we choose to take it, to reestablish healthy family structures." And it's not that we were trying to have our families kind of go into disarray, but if you look at the results, you can see what is taking place. It's not just a matter of like people being happy or, dysfunctional. We're talking about skyrocketing rates of anxiety and depression and mental health issues, and skyrocketing rates of substance abuse. And many of these things stem from a lack of connection, a lack of community, a lack of a family structure. Because first and foremost, our family is the biggest influence in our lives. Of course, we're going to have social, influence from our peer groups, but this is where we get our template from. And specifically before the age of about 7, the human brain is oftentimes residing in a theta brainwave state. And that theta state is very impressionable. And things really have an easier route to get into our subconscious. during that theta state. So this is why kids, under the age of 7, everything is so real. The cartoons that they watch are real. Elsa is real. Let it go. Let it go. Elsa's real. The old Saint Nick. I'm not going to, just in case any kids are listening, it's old Saint Nick. Easter Bunny. The Easter Bunny is out pooping out candy-filled eggs. They believe it. We go for an Easter egg hunt. The Easter Bunny dropped these. Does he poop them out, though? Maybe he's coming from his basket. Maybe I just skipped a step. But where the eggs come from. So all of these things are real. They're very impressionable. And understanding what an opportunity we have to influence our children's lives for the rest of their life. But many of us, we're coming into this with a lot of because you can't truly prepare for parenthood, but we're coming into it figuring a lot of things out. And now with this thrust on top of us, we need resources. We need insights. We need to be able to see from different perspectives. And so with him saying that, it really brought forth a huge opportunity for us. But we have to take the opportunity, because what happens when our children are no longer raised by us, but instead being raised by systems? And that's what's happened in the last 3 generations. What happens when our children are no longer raised by us, but by systems? School systems, computer systems, gaming systems, social systems that don't even include us as the parents. We have a very dramatically different human entity that's being created. And Dr. Amen put it succinctly by saying that it's simply not good for our children and their development when we've outsourced so much of their development and their growth and their learning to systems. And again, just to create a space and to lay this down as a foundation, it's not that any of that is wrong. It's not that it's wrong. It's just degrees of what we can do better. Because trust and believe, we're going to utilize technology for our son as well. We're going to be outsourcing different components, but this is an opportunity to become more a part of our families' lives, more part of our children's lives, if we should choose to take it. So let's start with some of the basics first and foremost. With this time that we have with our families, whether this is within the nuclear family, within the household, or whether this is connecting with your family virtually, this is an incredible time to actually talk, to communicate, to connect, to ask questions, to really learn about each other. I'm learning things about my wife I never knew. The same thing with my 2 kids. And I really have the perspective that we spend, definitely considering all the things that were going on in our lives, quite a bit of time together and a great relationship. But right now, my wife, for whatever reason, even though she likes to play, I'm just behind the scenes. I don't want to. She's been doing more interviews that she gets requested to do on all these top platforms. She's speaking at summits. She's speaking at Shawn T's summit coming up here. So when this publishes, it might have already happened, but she's out here she's doing the thing. And she's for years been like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'll just, I'm going to be over here. And now she is felt compelled to share her voice. And whether she realizes it or not, and this is the thing that I get to learn and to see, and she might be like, no, this is not what I want. She's being called to do it, and she's accepting the call. And I'm seeing new capacities in her that just makes me value her even more. And the same thing with my son, Braden. I've really learned that this kid has a certain way that he likes to operate. He operates in a way, he likes to knock out his goals, knock out his task first thing as soon as he wakes up in the morning so he can do whatever he wants. That's how this kid rolls. He wants to get up. If his job is to put the dishes away, to clean his room, he's got some kind of a school task with a writing project. He likes to get up, execute, and then I'm free. That's how he rolls. That's what he likes to do. And I get to see that very clearly. And then I can see the opposite, because my other son is the opposite. My oldest son, Jordan, wants to put off doing the task and do what he wants to do first and then come back to the task later. He likes to delay. As a matter of fact, I call him a delayosaurus. He finds creative ways to constantly delay doing the thing that he needs to take care of. But the things that he wants to do, the things that he's dedicated to, he has a work ethic that I've literally never seen before in any other person. This guy gets up 5:30 in the morning and he's at the gym. And he has this dedication and this execution and this level of commitment that when nobody else is doing it, when society shut down, I'm going to find a way to execute on the goal that I have. And so this is again, these kids are opposites, but how do we work within that structure? Because everybody's different, but we don't generally know those things unless we pay attention, ask questions, be observant, and that this is what this time is allowing for us to do. So, number one, talk, ask questions. Now, some people listening might know that sometimes with certain family members or even just certain phases of their lives, it tends to be teenagers. You ask a question, you get the one word responses. How was your day? Good. Tell me about your day. That's what I mean. So when that happens, continue to ask questions. All right. You get into that Scully and Mulder FBI investigation with them, like find that way in, be patient, persistent, ask questions. And so you can get to know them better. These are people that we should know who are closest to us anyways, but this is the time to ask questions because I promise you the thing that you would regret the most is not asking the questions. There are so many questions that I have for my grandmother that I never got to ask. And if I just had 1 hour with her, all I would do is ask questions and listen. There's so many things I want to know that only she could tell me. And, but the beautiful part is she's given me so much to imagineer what she would say. And I just feel that connection still, but you don't want to leave here or be in a situation where a family member is no longer with you and you didn't ask the questions. You didn't talk. You didn't explore. You didn't find those things out. So this is a time to talk, ask questions, and listen. Actually spend time, sit down and talk, or, maybe get together and play a game, that you can kind of do while talking. Maybe it's playing a little pool, playing little darts, right? I don't know when I thought about darts, I thought about the bow and arrow jump off. That's not, I don't know if anybody has that, but it's pretty cool if you do. Get out there and do some bow and arrows, throw some axes, whatever, hang out, talk with your family members. All right, so that's number one, is utilizing this time to proactively, consciously take the time to talk, connect, ask questions. Another opportunity that this is allowing us to do is kind of going back to what I was just saying is not just talking and sitting down and having conversations and hanging out, but like take this time to actually play together. And I believe that families that play together stay together. Families that train together remain together. All right. So taking this time to do something physical with your family, do something intellectual, do stimulating, do something creative with your family. Take this time to play together and have fun and grow. So this could be doing workouts together. This could be, doing, playing games together. We just did a puzzle. We just did a 1,000-piece puzzle. Okay. Now there might be some puzzle savants listening right now. It's like 1,000 pieces, whatever. For us, coming from 50-piece puzzle with my youngest son to like 1,000, it's quite a step. All right. But we became obsessed. And right now there's so many different things that are puzzling in our lives. So real talk, if you feel puzzled, do a puzzle. It's right there available for us. And it really got us thinking in a different way. And again, you could see how we are together in the context of things. And there were some valuable lessons that I really took away from doing this puzzle with my family. It's actually sitting right here on the table. I didn't plan on it being here still. So maybe we could put a shot up. We'll put a shot up on the video for you guys of the finished product. So it's a Marvel characters puzzle. It's beautiful. And we took some really powerful lessons away from this. It took us a couple of days, but we kind of got a little bit obsessive about it.
Last piece.
The puzzle is complete.
And one of the biggest lessons that I really took away from that experience of doing a puzzle with my wife and my youngest son was, number one, was to take a break. Take a break. Sometimes you can get so caught up with trying to solve the puzzle that you can't see what's right in front of you. Like when we have our head down and we're grinding away on the task at hand, whether it's something with work, something with family, etc., sometimes we get so caught up in it that we can't see that the answer has been right there the whole time. And so whenever we would take a break and then come back, it's just like, boom, boom, I done put 10 pieces into the puzzle in 30 seconds versus like one piece in 2 minutes. You know, like the acceleration, you can just start, oh, there's that piece, there's that piece. It's called the default mode network. And this is a capacity our brains have to literally start solving problems when we do nothing, right? So just taking time, take a break, step away from the puzzle. I had to tell my wife, she's the most obsessive, low-key, all right? So step away from the puzzle, take a break, you come back fresher, and you can see the things that are right there in front of you. So that was one lesson from doing the puzzle together. Another lesson that we took away was oftentimes a puzzle piece can appear to have no relevance whatsoever to what you're trying to solve. It can appear to have no relevance whatsoever to what you think you're looking for. But as time goes on, you'll realize that that puzzle piece you've come across was something that had an important role to play this whole time. It's just, it seemed like it didn't have any relevance. It seemed like it wasn't going to be what you needed. But over time, you'll find out that it had a role to play. How often in our lives do things happen? Do situations occur? Do connections take place? Do things get severed? And I'm talking about relationships, not like John Wayne Bobbitt kind of. When things get severed, when maybe negative situations take place, how often do those things elicit qualities, ways of thinking, strategies, gifts in our lives that end up playing a role later on down the line? Lessons learned from something previous that might not seem like they have any relevance to play. How often they come back and play a role in something else that we are confronted with later on down the line. That's what this is. That's what 2020 is. It's creating capacities in us. It's creating perseverance and talents within us that we didn't even know we had. We needed this situation to take place for those things to manifest. All right, so that's another thing that I learned in this process of doing this puzzle with my family. Another thing that I learned was that it's always best to use a model. Use a model. We got the box that's showing you what the puzzle's gonna look like. It's a blueprint. It can take you 5, 10, 20 times longer to figure something out and to put something together that you're trying to build if you don't have a model to follow. So here's the key, and this is the big takeaway. Learn from those who've already put the puzzle together. The blueprints are available. Wherever you're trying to go, whatever your destination is, there's usually 99.9% of the time, somebody's gone through that thing. There's this profound statement that success leaves clues, right? Success leaves clues, but also failure leaves clues as well. And we have the ability to be able to know what we don't want and to see models of things not going correctly. And we have models of things that we do want and things going the way that we want. And understanding that truly in all aspects of our lives, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. We're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. They've all created and paved a way for us to be here now. And people have figured things out. There's going to be newness that we're looking towards, but every single layer of newness, there was already a preview of those things to come. There was already things that were established to allow that newness to become a possibility. All right. So our ideas didn't come out of nowhere. These were things that were brought to the forefront and made possible as we move closer and closer and closer here going into the future by the people that have come before us. So utilizing a model, but also within that context, know that your experience of putting it all together, even though we're following a model, even though we're utilizing a blueprint with those who've already figured it out, when you're putting it together, it's still going to be unique to you and leave tons of room for creativity in you getting to your ultimate goal. But that's another big takeaway for me from doing the puzzle with my family, is that it's important to use a model, use a blueprint so that you could see where you're going. Finally, one other lesson that I took away from doing this puzzle with my family that I want to share with you guys is that sometimes it's not about the outer appearance. It's not about the image. It's not about the image that's on the puzzle piece. It's about how it fits into the puzzle. All right, because we can get caught up in what it looks like. And sometimes the appearance it looks like it's this thing over here, but it ends up being something totally different. But there's a strategy with putting a puzzle together where you can see there's a certain shape that fits here. There's a certain thing that fits. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the surface because the appearance can be deceiving. It's looking at what actually fits. And how often in our lives do we judge things on their appearance and not be able to invoke the possibility of them fitting into our lives or not fitting into our lives based on their appearance? This is the time to take back control of our minds and determining the things that fit in our lives and the things that don't fit. Sometimes something has a great appearance that does not fit us, but we believe we're supposed to take that on and try to make it fit when it simply doesn't. And on the other side, how often in our lives does something on the surface not look like it's a good fit, but it ends up being, especially when we listen to our intuition, especially when we listen to that internal guidance system. And myself being a scientist, the word intuition gets me a little like, I don't know. But intuition, the best definition that I've seen is intuition is advanced pattern recognition. Advanced pattern recognition. And this is a capacity that we all have to notice patterns, especially if you've been through some stuff. You can see the patterns. You can see where this is going. It's like, oh, that's not going to end very good. Or you see something like, oh, that's a good decision. That's going to work out great, right? And how often do we ignore that advanced pattern recognition? And not to say that the intuition is in a different level, but we're just going to keep it science here. But I'm telling you, there's an internal guidance system that if we pay more attention to that instead of what we're supposed to do or what we're supposed to believe, it's going to guide us so much further faster. So I want to share that with you guys. And always when we're interacting with our loved ones and really working to navigate some of these new constructs and situations, there's so many gifts there. There's so many lessons for us to receive if we're paying attention. And another incredibly challenging thing that we're experiencing right now is in education for our children and education really for our communities overall right now. But the important thing for us to, first of all, is to embrace is that it's what is. It's what is. It's what we're experiencing. And we can spend a lot of time rebelling against it or trying to fight against it, but it's what is. And unfortunately, that comes with a lot of burden. I'm not sure if many people are aware of this, but right now, approximately 43% of children in lower income households don't even have access to computers for online learning. That's nearly half of the children in that demographic. These children are getting left behind due to the restrictions, due to the mandates, due to the decisions made outside of these children. Our children oftentimes don't have the capacity or the opportunity to choose for themselves. This is why we need to be so considerate in our thinking. Of course, we might be trying to address one issue, but does that create 10 other issues over here by trying to address these things? And our children don't have the voices right now themselves, but we're determining what their lives are going to look like. And my very intention from the very beginning of this was to make sure that we are at least taking a view of these things, the decisions that we're making from multiple perspectives. and making sure that the treatment for the things we're doing actually matches up with the condition, and we're not causing residual side effects that can be worse than the treatment. And so these are all things to consider. And on top of that, millions of children simply don't have family home structures that can even provide them adequate monitoring and assistance with their schoolwork, even if they are able to get access to getting online, whether it's through a parent's phone or whatever the case might be. And this is because of work obligations with parents, language barriers, parental education barriers themselves, etc. The list goes on and on and on. And we need to consider these things because millions of children right now are faced with these issues. And now, of course, we can speak about these injustices and these things that are imbalanced right now. And we could find ways to support these children who are getting left behind in all of this confusion and disarray. But we must also ensure that our own children, who are our responsibility first and foremost, are able to continue to learn and to grow. So we can work to support the community at large, but also the lion's share of our attention, we need to focus on our children that are within our own household, our nuclear family, and also, maybe it's your nieces and nephews. Like, what can we do to support the children that you have close proximity that you can, reach out and impact directly because they need you right now too. There's a big mission in front of all of us, but this is something that we can do, but we need to have these conversations. And another task, even within all of this, is even if schools are opening in your state, there are several abnormal things to navigate for your child's mental, emotional, and social development, with some schools keeping students and staff 6 feet apart at all times. Some schools requiring children to wear masks throughout the entire school day. Some schools are mandating that there's a hybrid model where some schools allow kids to come to school for a certain amount of time while other students have to stay home, and then that switches off. And all of these different things are going to affect their social and emotional and mental development because humans have evolved interacting with each other as a species. And now having this distance between us in your learning and the people that you are, your peers and the people that you're entrusted to teaching you, and whether or not this is based on science, whether or not this is something that we agree with or not, it's what is. It's what is. So we can do work to help to change those things if that's your mission, but also understanding that this is what is. How do we respond with what we can do right now to support our children? And so what are some of those things? So whether or not your kid is going back to school and it's super weird, or you here in the state of California, schools are not opening. All right. The kids, it's remote learning as the school year begins. So what are some of the things that we can do to support our children? Number one, it's incredibly important for all of us, whether you're a mom or dad, grandparent, aunt, uncle, cousin, who has younger children who are looking to you, who you are modeling for, who need your support. How can you carve out some focused time to support them? That's number one. Simply asking the question and making it a mission. How can I carve out some focused time to support them? So I mean that with minimal distractions to support them. Because as the schools were closed and suddenly we went from, taking my son to school to homeschooling him, and him doing online school with his teachers, it really was the burden, the lion's share, the responsibility, the privilege suddenly was passed to us in the greatest capacity. And whether or not we look at it as a burden or a privilege depended on the day, depended on the subject. And managing, how do you figure this stuff out? And one of the things that we really learned was that it's probably, especially until the routine is created, it's probably not a good idea to set him up to do his work while we're trying to sit next to him and work as well. We need to be available, or it's just going to create a frustration between all parties when we're trying to do something and they're trying to do something. When we can maybe cut and schedule an hour to focus on with them, to support them, and then we focus completely and totally on our thing after that. Now there's gray area here. This is not to say that you can't sit and work next to your child, because we absolutely can. I've done it, and we found places where that's appropriate. But for our intents and purposes, we found that carving out some specific focused time where when he was doing his language arts and his writing project with me, I turn my phone off, everything is away from me, and I'm with him. I focus with him. We execute, then I can go about my business, do whatever I had to do, and he can go about, doing whatever it is he had to do next. So carve out some time as we go into this. Whether your kid is going to school, you need to carve out some time to help to balance out some of the strangeness of the social and emotional barriers that are going to be in place as they're standing on an X spot on the ground 6 feet from another student. And they're trying to listen to a teacher who has their mask on, and they're just like, and the kid is just like, what? It's kind of like, and this reminds me of the skit that Dave Chappelle did with Little John. And it's just like, the teacher with the mask on, she's like, make sure you turn it to field. You're like, what? Make sure you turn it to field. What? Make sure you turn in the paper at the end of class. Okay. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that experience, So how do you help to, deal with the Little John situation and help to buffer that by carving out some time to be as human as possible with your child, or to be able to expose them to human connection? So maybe it's, kids in your neighborhood that they get to spend some time with. Maybe it's, other kids in your family. Maybe it's just you and them seeing a real human face and being able to talk and to communicate and to be able to read body language and facial expressions. Because one of the things that I talked about in the Mask Facts documentary, which if you have not seen, where you been? Go to themodelhealthshow.com/mask facts to watch the documentary. But one of the things that was highlighted is some peer-reviewed evidence on how the brain evolved to be able to read and make assessments about human faces. It provides a wealth of data, just being able to manage and monitor expressions. And it's a huge part of communication. So we don't want to, especially in the crucial times as children are developing, especially during like elementary, middle school time, especially, that circuitry is being laid down to try to manage and read language beyond the words that we use. So carve out some time dedicated to our kids, whether they're at home or whether they're hybrid model or whether they are going back to school with some weirdness, all right, different, very strange circumstances. Carve out some time. So that's number one. Another important facet that we need to tap into is family teamwork. All right, family teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? And being able to communicate with other family members for support. We have to do this right now. We have to communicate. So whether that's, parents taking on different duties, whether this is, bringing in, an uncle, or, maybe you have, your father-in-law is, he's a musician, or he's taught music or something like that. Be able to utilize our family and friends, communicate, ask for help, because so often it's just this idea that we carry that we have to do it all on our own that leads to our demise. And I want you to open yourself up, because I know there are going to be a few people that really truly feel like they don't have anybody else to help them. And there are some cases that are very close to that for sure. There are many, many single parents out there who don't have a social network to reach out to and to depend on from the surface level. And one of those people I'm thinking about is actually a friend of mine. She's like a world-class coach, but the structure, especially with her family not being in the same state, and just the close family not having that apparent willingness to help as she's managing her young children. But then it's just like we had conversations. She has so many incredible friends in her life that she's never really thought to. Maybe they can spend 30 minutes a week in teaching her kid fill in the blank. And she just had so many different ideas just by changing the question she was asking herself and looking at the resources she does have. Because a lot of this stuff is not about resources, it's about being resourceful. And we need to be more resourceful now than ever. So family teamwork. So in our instance, my wife handles a couple of the subjects, just kind of standing on standby with Braden and support, because Braden, and understanding your child, and he's a very kind of self-sufficient, get up and go, kind of like, I just want to execute kind of person. He's more like me. He doesn't necessarily like being told what to do. He rather just like, you give me the heads up on what I need to do, I'll do it, so you don't have to tell me again, And so she'll be there to manage that. And then I come in and do the language arts with him in the afternoon. While I'm working, I do my work while he's doing other stuff. Then we do that together, right? So maybe you got, an older child or a neighbor who can teach PE or can teach art. Community time. Teamwork makes the dream work. Family teamwork, community teamwork as well. So extending out to maybe your neighborhood. And also this is bringing up even for the learning itself, because another thing has become popular in the lexicon is learning pods, right? We've got these learning pods, which are sort of a hybrid of traditional schooling and like homeschooling, and basically getting like a small nucleus of children together, whether this is virtually or in person, who has access to a teacher or a tutor, and having the education take place through that medium. So there's so many different options right now, but you can get online and look up learning pods in your area, in your city, and there's so many. There's different Facebook groups and things like that, but it's just having the idea, having the awareness, and then taking action. Maybe you just need that support, and you can utilize different resources that you might have access to become a part of a learning pod, or to reach out to people in your community to help to maybe teach kids certain subjects, to add support as a tutor, and we can figure this thing out. All right, another important thing that we need to put our attention on for our kids, our family members, and ourselves right now is to create some sense of normalcy and some sense of even excitement during this time of year when we're shifting to a new season, kids are going back to school, or just overall, because especially for children, the human brain craves consistency. The human brain craves routine because it's able to literally create, the axon terminals and the dendrites and the myelin that gets laid down. But as we have routine, we create these more powerful pathways to automate behavior. Once we have consistency, we can automate behavior, and that opens up the brain for new learning. If we got 10 different things going on that's all new, there's so much newness, it's very difficult to retain any of these things and to put these things on automation, and to have these behaviors and learning and insights to be automatic. So I hope that makes sense. Once we have consistency and routine in the thing, we open up our mind for new learning. It's very similar to when we learn how to drive a car the first time. All right. Teaching my son Jordan how to drive a car was low-key one of the most stressful experiences of my life. All right, I'm sitting over there, I'm feeling like a complete victim as this kid is driving around this couple-ton vehicle, but it's something that I had to embrace, I had to be one with, I had to accept that things are gonna be all right, but I couldn't reach over there and hit the brake or the gas pedal, and it's just that learning process for him, as with any of us, as we learn how to drive. But shout out to the driving school vehicle that has the brake and gas pedal on the other side of the vehicle as well. I don't know if it has a gas pedal, but I know it definitely has a brake, because my football coach / he was also the driver's ed teacher, he hit that bad boy on me. He hit that brake on me while I was taking his class. And football coaches just tend to have, they tend to be a little bit more already upset. They carry a higher degree of upsetness already. So, shout out to coach. But anyways, when you first learn how to drive, you're so focused on being careful, everything, hitting the right turns, putting your hands at the right angles, and, accelerating the right way, braking the right way. The signs, there's so much to take in. But as you automate, as you do that behavior continuously, before you know it, like people literally I'm not saying to do this, but they're like texting and eating a burger while driving the car. Not saying it's safe, but they're able to do it. All right. But for folks who are not, going that far, to be able to just drive. And sometimes you're driving and maybe you're listening to a podcast. Maybe I'm driving with you right now. Listen, if you were driving with me today with this episode, I need you to take a screenshot. Not necessarily now, but you could, because you've automated this behavior. But when you finish, when you reach your destination, take a screenshot, tag me on Instagram. I'm at Shawn Model, and say, Shawn, I was driving with you today. All right, at Shawn Model on Instagram. But once we get that behavior automated, we can do things like listen to an audiobook, and we can drive for miles and miles and miles and not remember a thing about the drive. Because it's not that we were not being safe. It's not that we were not noticing everything going on the drive and noticing other drivers and having the right response and reactions. It's just that behavior has become so automated. It's on automatic that we can do new things. We can open our brain for new learning. And this is why we need to create some normalcy right now. Create some excitement with kids going back to school. I mean, the first day of school, before all this, it was a whole vibe. It was a vibe. First day of school, I'm getting the new fit. I've been purposely not wearing this fit to have it for the first day. The new shoes, come on. But then once you reach a certain point, you try to be so cool that I'm not wearing a new outfit to school, even though you really want to. All right, but it's a whole vibe, new school. Getting your school supplies? Come on, you remember the Trapper Keeper? Are those still around? Trapper Keeper, all right? Get all the markers. Do you remember the markers that they had the smell of, like, if it was a green marker, it smelled like, limes. The red marker smelled like strawberries. I'm pretty sure they're outlawed. They might have came back. I don't know. I haven't been in the game for a minute. But they were getting kids high, all right? So I'm like in kindergarten, bent out of my mind. And I'm like wondering why teachers telling me to, draw a tree. And I'm like over there writing like haikus or whatever. I don't even know what a haiku is as a kindergartner, but, I'm off task because I'm high because of the markers. But, getting the school supplies, the number 2 pencils. Have you ever seen a number 1 pencil? By the way, what happened to the number 1? Shouldn't the number 2 be the number 1 now at this point? If number 1's not around, number 3, 4, I don't know. Have you seen them? Because I haven't. And man, I've been through some pencils, like we played pencil break on the school bus. We had a long commute in that DSEC program from the city to the county, hour bus ride on average. We on there playing pencil break. We get the little form. One kid holds, for those who are not affiliated with pencil break, one kid holds the pencil horizontally, and then you got to try to break it with your pencil. Anyway, so all number 2s, baby. That's all I know. So, but taking some time, school supplies, creating some form of excitement for our kids. And if we could do this for other kids as well. And by the way, I'm going to post in the show notes and also on the website for this episode, there's an article with various resources for free school supplies for folks that need them. If you know anybody who's in need, if you are in need right now and need a little bit of support, there's an article I'm going to put, and it has like 8 different options for getting access to free school supplies. We got to help our babies, help our kids to make these things happen. All right. So creating some normalcy, creating some excitement as much as we can around, going back to school and creating this new structure, and just finding ways to find some joy and happiness within a lot of craziness. Another thing is that I've been grateful for is the fact that having my son at home, we really get to determine even more so his nutrition. And it's not that the school had that he was at, it was this guy, I think his name was Chef John, if I remember correctly, but he's like whipping up food. It's not a lot of like out of the can kind of joints. Like he was doing some pretty cool stuff for the kids. He get like different things from farmers and things like that sometimes for the kids. So it was really cool, but at the same time, when he's under our roof, we can really be more proactive in what he's eating. Even if he wasn't, we could take his lunch. Still, kids are going to be exposed to different things, and that's all good. But just during this time, we can really continue to like supercharge the little guy. And, even with his snacks, he's got his little fruits and veggies that he can snack on. We got, these protein bites. On It just came out with some new protein bites that are fire. My wife just crushed them. So freaking good. They already had the chocolate coconut cashew protein bites, but now they've got chocolate peanut butter protein bites, chocolate cookie dough protein bites. How about a little snack? It's like somewhere around like 8 or 9 grams of protein in a little snack. And protein is one of the most important fuels or building blocks for the function of our brains that's so overlooked. Is how important protein actually is for those processes. And not only that, with the On It protein bites, so we're getting high quality protein, but you're also getting prebiotics. You're also getting an array of micronutrients. They've got a cool little micronutrient blend that they put into it as well. And it just tastes good. These are the snacks that we have access to, and we just get like a case, and he can go in there and he can grab some of these whenever he wants. They've got protein bars over there. Also, we pretty much daily make him a smoothie as well, especially if he doesn't have, a little snack like the protein bites, and make him a smoothie and make sure that he's getting some high quality protein in there as well. So with On It, so whether or not you're doing dairy or if you're doing a plant-based, so whichever camp you subscribe to, because most of the clinical evidence, like we're talking like high 90% of clinical evidence on protein supplements are done on whey protein. So there's a lot of efficacy there, but you want to make sure that there's no nefarious substances coming through there, that, these aren't coming from, quote, sick animals. And so On It is doing the right thing when it comes to that. But also they got a wonderful plant-based protein if that's what you want as well. But all of this stuff is available at onit.com/model. That's ONNIT.com/model. You get 10% off every single thing that they carry. Highly recommend checking out their protein bites. I've got a box of their protein bars in there that I keep. This is something I used to travel with. Not really traveling now, but I just love having them on hand. They're so delicious, so good. They just know how to do stuff right, keep it sexy, tasty, and again, incredible sources of protein. So pop over there, check them out, onit.com/model for 10% off. Also check out their fat butters. Oh, so good. So much good stuff over there. But I love the fact that we get to ensure that he's getting the nutrition that we really want him to have on a daily basis. So it's been another really important Corona bonus that we've seen. So again, this is a time to help to create some normalcy. This is a time to create some excitement, because there's a statement, it is what it is. We're dealing with something very abnormal right now. It is. How can we navigate within this to still create growth, to still create learning, to still create a healthy environment? All right. So, and by the way, I got to make this point too. As a parent/teacher and support, it's a mandate that you must take care of your health first. You must take care of yourself first. You must take care of your self-care first. You must take care of your mental and emotional well-being first. Start your day, pour into your own cup so that you can give from the overflow. All right. We don't want to get caught up in situations where we're behind and we're trying to wait for a time to like get our meditation in or a workout or whatever it is. Get you covered first so you have more to give. All right. That is the mandate. I know it's okay if it's not perfect every day, but make it the rule and not the exception. All right. The rule is take care of yourself first. Also, we've got to practice patience here. All right. Especially, many of us are not trained teachers. So understanding that these are new waters that we're navigating, and practice patience with our children, because they're just trying to be kids. They're trying to do what they do. And also having patience with ourselves, because sometimes we will get frustrated. Sometimes things are not going to go our way, but to practice patience. And also, again, creating a consistent structure. And if we can, help to kind of modulate and create a learning environment for all parties. And this leads us to another important part of this conversation. And again, it was stimulated from Dr. Daniel Amen. And we'll put that episode in the show notes. It just came out recently. But such an incredible conversation. But he also talked about the fact that we're spending so much more time on social media. Our social media time has skyrocketed since the quarantine and the shutdowns have taken place. Skyrocketed. But what he wanted to point us to was the fact of not just being consumed with social media, but proactively taking this time to learn something virtually, because that's what we all have access to right now. And the same time when we're checking out what Cardi B is up to, we could be checking out how to improve our financial well-being. Both are available, and you can learn from the best. You know, Cardi B's the best at being Cardi B. You can learn from some of the very best people in the world on how to improve your financial well-being. And this is a big issue right now, obviously. As it stands, approximately 40 million citizens here in the United States are now unemployed. And as it stands, a recent report has found that about 100,000 small businesses have not been able to handle the government mandated shutdowns and have had to close their doors for good. While hundreds of thousands of additional small businesses, even getting into the millions, are struggling to survive. And I wanted to talk about this because small businesses here in the United States are, in many capacities, the lifeblood of the American economy. And I don't think that many people really realize this, because when massive amounts of small businesses fail, our entire economy fails. It really is the backbone of the American economy. And right now, in an effort to try to bail out or hold over small businesses, the U.S. government is finding ways of basically printing out money, and like this money can just come out of thin air. Like, markets don't work like that. It just doesn't work. You can't just make money. You can't just make money to just give away. It doesn't work that way. There's repercussions. The United States government was already like trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. But we should also be like, who are they in debt to? Themselves? Thanos? Who are they indebted to? And when are they coming for their money? Because 2020 would be the year Thanos rolls up. But the way that we're handling these situations just doesn't make sense. In determining which business is an essential business versus which isn't, and the science behind that, and the science behind the regulations within the essential businesses versus non-essential businesses, and how it's being managed within the safety parameters within all of that. All of these things have huge holes and problems and concerns and questions that have not been fully examined. And now we're putting so many lives at stake. Millions of people, and this is something reiterated by Dr. Daniel Amen, the fallout from the shutdowns is very likely, it's not just possible, it's probable that millions of lives are going to be lost due to the government mandated shutdowns. Millions more than what we've seen with the virus. Millions of lives are going to be lost due to loss of employment, because when folks are not working, there's a 50%. When somebody's unemployed, please hear this. It's not just from, we know that there's an uptick in depression and suicide, homicide goes up, but there's also about a 50% increased risk of having a heart attack when somebody's unemployed. And just issue after issue after issue. And also the fact that pretty much all of us are going to have some form of PTSD from this situation, especially if we're not doing work on ourselves. And like today's episode, again, is dedicated to how do we help to prevent some of these issues from happening in the future, which are coming down the line. So I just want to highlight that there's a lot going on right now with people losing their ability to take care of their family. And the biggest reason that the American family has been gradually pulled apart, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, is due to work. And with that underlying factor, it's due to money. Right? The American dream has gone from this family structure to more work to accumulate, to acquire stuff, to make more money, to keep up with no longer keeping up with the Joneses, to keep up with the Kardashians. And the American family has been severed. This is a revolutionary time where we can create or reimagine or reinvigorate the American family and look at, okay, this has been because of money that we've done these things. Now money has been pulled away in so many factors. But it's not to negate, we absolutely need to make money. This is how the economy works. We need to be able to, take care of our families. But what I really want you to understand is that you don't have to sacrifice your life in order to make a living. You don't have to sacrifice your life in order to make a living. And this is presenting us with a powerful opportunity to, again, reimagine our own lives in the construct of the economy, in the construct of work, in the construct of the ways that we make money, in the construct of making money, period. How few of us actually understand how money works, understand how business works. We're very good at making money for other people, but we haven't really been taught how to make money for ourselves. And this is something that everybody should know. When I went to college, I just gave them all my money. They didn't teach me how to make money. They taught me a bunch of just basics about subjects: history, biology, kinesiology, nutritional science. There was accounting. Of course, I took accounting, but you're not learning about accounting for yourself. You're learning about accounting for a business, somebody else. I honestly still have bad dreams about accounting. Okay, I'm just being honest. It's not my favorite class. Teacher she reminded me of Garfield. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Shout out to lasagna. Shout out to Odie. But again, this is giving us a great opportunity, because the thing that's constantly being overlooked within this entire conversation is the fact that even when businesses are finally able to open their doors, people are not just going to be rushing back to spend money in the businesses. It's not just getting to the place where businesses can open up again and allow customers. People are not going to go rushing back. Number one, people have less money to spend, oftentimes in many constructs. Also, millions of people are going to be scared to go. There's going to be a residual fear of death that hovers over tens of millions, at least, lives of American citizens, and also lives all over the world. So that's another reason when people are able to open their doors to small businesses, they're not just going to go rushing back. It's another reason that so many businesses are going to fail. And it's not because of their choice. Also, with many businesses closed, many customers have already adjusted to their new buying behavior, to shifting things to online options, and it may never go back. And even the desire to buy from brick and mortar businesses might never return. In fact, it probably won't for the most part. If you look at clothing stores, for example, people shopping online like crazy for clothes, like never before, even though they don't really have nowhere to go, I guess. Anyways, it's like when I get outside, it's going to be lit. Back to school is going to be lit. But I'm going to take my back to school picture and I'm going to post it on social media. Also, places that people aren't just going to be rushing back. Like, what about massage therapy studios? Like, even how is that even going to go? It's, the massage therapists, they got the mask on. They got the full hazmat suit to rub you down. They got like the dishes, the gloves that you wear when you do the dishes. And you're like, this massage is very different. It's very rubbery. How do these organizations adapt? Small businesses employ nearly half of the private workforce. Who knew? Nearly half of the private workforce. And these disappearances of these businesses that are continuing and going to continue, we haven't even seen the worst of it yet, is going to be deeply felt and permanently affect the landscape of the American economy. And so right now we need to be thinking on the actions that we must take. And one of the biggest lessons for us to learn is that today, 2020 has proven to us that no job is a certainty. This is not like when our grandparents were working at the car assembly lines. Those jobs no longer exist where you get into a job and you move up the ladder and you stay in that organization. That's no longer a factor. We all have been gifted with the opportunity to see that very clearly, to know that we have to develop at least a small semblance of self-reliance. We have to develop at least a small semblance of making something happen for ourselves, and to have something that is our own. And this is a time that we all have the opportunity, from my perspective, to align what we do to make our income with what we love to do with our lives. Aligning what we do to make our income with what we are passionate about. We have an opportunity to have those things to intersect more than ever right now. When so many opportunities, jobs, the market, the economy, which is going to continue to go in a downward momentum, unfortunately. Fortunately, there is a new way that always emerges out of the old. And with that as a context of your passion and what you do to make income, asking questions like, right now, being honest with yourself, what do you love to do? What do you love to do? Do you love to cook? If you love to cook, I promise you, there are an enormous amount of ways that you can make a living by cooking. Whether this is starting an online, like a YouTube cooking show, and monetizing your videos, or having, YouTube ads, or whatever the case might be. Or maybe you start your own spice blend from your cooking shows, or maybe you create ebooks with your recipes. I can go on and on. There's so many ways. If you love to cook, I promise you can make a living doing it. You absolutely could. And you got to determine, do you want to just make enough income to sustain your livelihood, or do you want to create wealth? Because both are possible. Both of them you can do. It's just deciding what you want, because this goes back to the puzzle. What fits for you? Not what you should do, but what actually fits for you. And another thing, if your passion is video games, if you love to play video games, you play video games for hours, like that's your jam. That's your peanut butter and jam. You can make a living playing video games. I know it sounds crazy. My son, there's a dude who makes Roblox videos that these kids are nuts about. He's so funny. That dude is racking up so much money from YouTube paying him for content, because YouTube is paying people for attention. If you've got a lot of eyeballs on the content you create, then they're going to be giving you more income. It's available for you. This guy's probably making 7 figures, and these kids are just like giddy learning about Roblox. All right. And all my man's doing is playing video games, making videos. All right. There are people in some video game tournament recently. It was for Fortnite. This kid won like $5 million playing a video game. When I was a kid, I remember moms and parents saying, it's going to rot your brain. You're never going to amount to anything playing video games. Guess what? 5 milli. 5 milli. Crazy. So this kid's going to roll up in his Ferrari. Like, never amount to nothing. But hopefully he invests intelligently with it. Never mind. But anyways, whatever it is you're passionate about, teaching fitness. Oh my goodness. So many different ways that you can make a living doing the thing you love. Even if you can't go to your gym or your studio right now. An enormous amount of ways to go about that. So again, what do you love to do? Ask yourself that, because this is a time to align your ability to make income with what you love and what you're passionate about. Also, this is a good time to ask yourself, what gifts do you already have? If you haven't trained in how to monetize YouTube videos or create ebooks or these different things, or you don't even know what your passion is or your gift is, simply asking, and this goes back to an episode we did with CJ Quinney, just one of my really, really good friends, mastermind in business and marketing and impact with heart. Man, one of the realest people. So E.T., who's been on the show multiple times, #1 motivational speaker in the world. CJ is the president of the company. And these guys have been doing so much good for so long that people don't even know about. I've already talked with them about some of the things I shared with you about kids from low income households not getting access to online learning, not getting access to school supplies. I'm already working with them to help to address those things because they've been doing it for a long time. They're going into the schools where nobody else goes. People don't really care about these kids. They're going into the detention centers. I've gone into the detention centers and trying to speak life into these babies and trying to find ways to support them, support the teachers. So CJ asked a question when he's on the show. If you're curious about what your gift is, asking yourself, what comes easy to you that is challenging for other people? What comes easy to you that's difficult for other people to do? Maybe that's video editing, right? Like my gift, I'm passionate about the human body, human performance, the human brain. Edit a video? Something that might take me 3 months to do that somebody else could probably do in a day, right? And my 3-month project is not going to look the same. So what comes easy to you that's difficult for other people, right? Maybe it's writing. Like some people, they're just like, they need a copy editor, need somebody to write their stuff for them. Or maybe they need like somebody write content for their website or for ads that they're doing. They just they're not good, they quote, not good with words. And you're a writer and you can lend that gift. It's easy for you, like, oh, it's just words, baby. I've got all the best words. So maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's speaking. Maybe it comes easy to you. Like it's just like breathing to you. Whereas for other people, it's just like, I just can't get up in front of people and talk, right? They rather be forced to watch reruns of Hee Haw for 48 hours or whatever the case might be. But Hee Haw low key was kind of good sometimes. I should not know that I know, but I grew up in very strange conditions, different households anyways. But so that's the thing that I want you to understand. What comes easy to you or natural to you that's difficult for other people? And another big takeaway for today is when we shift to taking more responsibility for our own personal economy, regardless of what's going on in the economy around us, when we start to do that, the shift has to take place when we ask this important question, which is, how can I serve? How can I help? It's an underlying premise because in order for you to make a living or make income doing something that you love, you need to have people to serve. You need to have people that you are able to give that product, service to. So who can I help? Who can I serve? And when you do that, when you go from working in a job to having something that is your own, whether you're a sidepreneur or an entrepreneur and you're doing your own thing, and now you're creating a structure where you own your own rights to your time and attention and what you're able to do. When you go from job, which is acronym JOB, just over broke, you didn't hear that from me. No, both things have value. It's not that having a job is, quote, a bad thing, but having a job in today's world, it's a very sketchy situation. There are essential jobs, of course, that we're going to need to continue to have people to do, but so many things are being shifted over to online work, to sidepreneur, entrepreneur, to give your gift in a new capacity. But when you go from working in a job where that is a value extraction paradigm, where you go to a job for them to pay you something, you go and trade your time and then they give you money. You're trading your time for money. That's the mindset. That's the reality. Whereas when you go into being a sidepreneur, an entrepreneur, having your own entity, your own business, your own source of income that you create, you're going from a value extraction paradigm to a value creation paradigm. You're finding people are not paying you for your time anymore. They're paying you for a result. They're paying you to get a certain thing done. And it's a different way of thinking because that thing might take you all of 10 minutes to do, but it's worth $1,000 to them. You just know the right button to push or the right code to put in, right? Or maybe it's something that takes you a month to do, but it's only paying what might have taken you, 2 weeks to do in your job that was paying you for your time. But once you get that result for that person, you're building on that. You're finding out how to be more efficient. You're finding out the things that you need to do the next time. It's a learning experience and how you can give more value. So I just want to share that with you guys today, and also to extend this last important insight that community and support and having successful social circles around you is more important than ever right now. And it's important for us to invest our time and energy into people that are going to keep us uplifted, that are going to keep us supported, that are going to keep us elevated. And I have been working diligently to find more opportunities, to find more creative ways for people to be able to lift themselves out of their circumstances right now, whether it's financial, whether it's health, whether it's relationship wise, and get access, because that's all we really need. So often, what allowed me to be here right now with you today is that somebody gave me exposure. They gave me access to what was possible. And because of this, I've been working diligently the past few months to put together some access. And for myself personally, I've been working in the health and wellness space for 18 years and 10 years in clinical work. And about 18 of those years, almost the entire 18 years, some form of coaching, whether it's in the gym, whether it's consulting for businesses and organizations, working with patients in one-on-one context. But truly understanding that right now more than ever, we have the opportunity to learn from the best. It's taking what always going on in the world, and so much has been shifted online. And my passion is health and wellness. My passion is helping people to be the best version of themselves. And if you have a passion for health and wellness, if you have a passion for nutrition, if you have a passion for coaching, this is the time to take action on it. And so I put together a really powerful class and a webinar, and it's going to be coming up here on September the 1st. All right, so this is coming up right about a week from when this is getting released. And I want you to join me because I'm going to give you access to 3 of the most important tenets to help you to significantly make more income as a successful coach by learning from the best coaches in the world. That's what we have to do. Learn from the best. Take the blueprint of the puzzle. All right, we all have to put our own puzzle together. But if we have a blueprint, if we have support, people that can help you do the puzzle, it becomes a joy to do. And it becomes an incredible learning process. And again, throughout the process, you create and tap into your own creativity, your own gifts to get to that end result of having that level of success. Because right now, there is an enormous need for people of your caliber, of your heart, to serve and help other people. Healthcare is in dire need of good people. But number one, we've got to get the best education. Of course, you've got to learn what really works in the real world so that you can then be of greater service in that. But you also need to learn how to create and sustain your own gift and your own capacity and how you express that thing. Maybe it is through writing. Maybe it is through, one of my really good friends is pivoted from him being a coach, a health coach, to creating some of the most viral YouTube videos the world has ever seen. So finding your unique gift within that, but what it really boils down to, number one, is to be able to help other people, whether that's in a one-on-one context or one-on-many. Now is the time to do it. So go to themodelhealthshow.com/coach2020. All right, so it's themodelhealthshow.com/coach2020 and get signed up because it's coming up very soon. And I just want to be able to give as many of these insights that I can. And if that is your focus, if this is something you're passionate about, if you're passionate about health and wellness, if you're passionate about helping people, if you just want to learn how to even manage, get some tips and strategies to up-level what you're already doing, you got to be there. Come and join me. But today, again, I just really wanted to help to up-level the conversation, help to shift our attention and our perspective, because it's a challenging time right now with family and with finances. And we have to think differently. 2020 is the year of the pivot, but it's also a year of great opportunity. And I'm going to continue to be here for you, to continue to provide resources, insights, tools, strategies, because that's what we all really need. But we also need a lot of love, and we also need a lot of support, because we are in this together. We are truly one world family. There are no humans that are out there riding around in outer space that we know of. Shout out to Star-Lord. All right. But truly, we are here together as a world family. And this is a time to come together and to support each other. And we can create something very special out of this chaotic time that's kind of fluxed up, and create a world that truly does work for all of us. I appreciate you so much for tuning into the show today. We've got some epic shows coming your way very soon. Take care. Have an amazing day. And I'll talk with you soon.
That is going to be the only way, because this is not, it's not going to be pretty. It's hard, it's heartbreaking, and it's very heavy. So, but we also have to check in. A lot of checking in, if it's from therapy or meditation